Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today our topic of discussion is about Gandhi Legacy Bill. So we'll discuss in detail about this bill. For my video updates and queries, you can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook because I feel together we can make a difference. So now here we'll talk about the relevance of this topic. It will be covered in your mains paper 1 Modern Indian History. At objective level, you should know about what is Gandhi Legacy Bill, where it has been introduced recently, and at subjective level, you should know the relevance of Gandhian thoughts. So here we'll discuss about the context of this lecture today. See, I already made a video on Gandhipedia if you look at our channel on StudyIQ. So there I discussed about the current affair, about Gandhipedia, and then about Gandhian philosophy, and then the relevance of his thoughts. So I will continue this lecture today. You can just see that lecture also. So here we'll discuss what is the current affair, who introduced and where this bill has been introduced, and then we'll discuss about the Gandhi's role in the independence movement and how he is an international personality. Now, an American congressman, his name is John Lewis, he introduced a bill in the US House of Representatives, and this bill aims to promote the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. So here, talking about the bill, this bill has been moved to mark the 150th birth anniversary of Gandhi this year, and this basically affirms the friendship between US and India. This is what at least they have said, and the aim of this bill is to affirm the friendships of the governments of both the countries, US and India, so that we can establish a bilateral partnership for collaboration to advance the development and shared values, because definitely America and India, we have a lot in common, though there are differences obviously, but there are some shared values for some purposes. So both the countries, their bilateral partnerships can grow to next level if we take such kind of steps. That is what has been said while proposing the bill, and it proposes for the establishment of Gandhi King Scholarly Exchange Initiative with an allocation of over $2 million. Okay, so this has been proposed $2 million for next 5 years until 2025. So the member who introduced is John Lewis. Basically, in 1963, Lewis was 23-year-old when he was being dubbed one of the big 6 leaders of the civil rights movement that had started at that time during the years when the movement had reached its peak. And John Lewis was influenced by Gandhi's use of non-violent methods. So in my earlier video of Gandhipedia, I discussed Gandhian philosophy of non-violence and truth, because these are the core principles of his philosophy. So he was very much influenced by Gandhi's use of non-violent methods that he was employed to oppose the rule of British Empire in India. And in fact, even Martin Luther King Jr. himself drew from Gandhi's methods of using non-violent approaches of resistance during the Montgomery bus boycott. So here I will tell you about this Montgomery bus boycott. So this boycott, it took place in 1955-56. So this Mongo Busberry boycott, it was a civil rights protest during which African Americans refused to ride city buses in Montgomery, Alabama to protest segregated seating, because in America there was racism. So they had this system of segregated seating. So this boycott took place from December 5, 1955 to December 20, 1956, and it is regarded as the first very large scale US demonstration against segregation, right? So talking about Lewis and the King in India, in 2009, the Lewis was part of a cultural delegation that was sent to India by then US Secretary of State, who was Hillary Clinton. And then this trip was actually undertaken to commemorate and retrace King and his wife's visit to India between February. They visited India during February-March 1959. Why they visited? To study the life and works of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so this is the current affair. So regarding Gandhi, there's another current affair about the Gandhi Citizenship Education Prize. I've included this in this video because see, of lately, Portuguese PM has recently announced the setting up of Gandhi Citizenship Education Prize. So here Portugal has launched this prize in order to promote Gandhi's ideals, Every year, the prize would be inspired by Gandhi's thoughts and quotes. The first edition of prize would be dedicated for animal welfare. That is what has been decided. Okay, so the initiation of this award shows global, that is what I was telling you, the international influence of Mahatma Gandhi. So even this initiation, the introduction of the bill that we discussed, it shows global reverence for Mahatma Gandhi, as the world is realizing that his philosophy, his vision of peace, equality and non-violence is even relevant today. So now we will start with Gandhi's contribution to independence movement. Already we have discussed his philosophy in the other video, the relevance. So what was his contribution to Indian independence movement? See, Gandhi brought Satyagraha to India in 1915 and was soon elected to the Indian National Congress political party. Then we have Rowlatt Act. So he began to push for independence from United Kingdom and organize resistance to there was a law in 1919. Okay, the law that gave the British authorities complete freedom, that they can imprison suspected revolutionaries without even a trial. So Britain responded very brutally to this resistance. They harmed and killed numerous unarmed protesters in the Amritsar massacre. And then Gandhi pushed even harder for home rule, encouraging boycotts of British goods and organizing mass protest. Then we have seen salt satyagraha, we have seen civil disobedience movement. So in 1930 he began a very massive satyagraha campaign against a British law that forced Indians to purchase British salt instead of producing it locally. So Gandhiji organized 241-mile long protest. This was a march to the west coast of Gujarat, where he and his comrades, they harvested salt on the shores of Arabian Sea. And in the response, Britain imprisoned around 60,000 peaceful protesters, and it generated even more support for the home rule. And even Gandhiji was imprisoned after that, but after imprisonment, he became more influential leader than ever. He protested discrimination against untouchables also. And then you have seen Quit India movement also. This was a campaign to get Britain to voluntarily withdraw from the India during World War II, and Britain refused, and then again they arrested Gandhiji once again. After this arrest of Gandhiji, there were huge demonstrations which took place due to his arrest, but the balance finally tipped toward Indian independence. Gandhiji was released from the prison in 1944, and Britain at last began to make plans to withdraw from the Indian subcontinent. So this is how you see his main contribution. These are the highlights of his works for the independence movement. Now I was telling you about his international influence. So Gandhiji influenced a number of important leaders and political movements across the world. Leaders of your civil rights movements in the United States, including your Martin Luther King Jr., James Lawson, James Bevel, they drew from the writings of Gandhi in the development of their own theories about the non-violence. So even your former South African president Nelson Mandela, then you have Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Steve Biko, Aung San Suu Kyi, all are believed to have influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. And in fact, in his earlier years, Mandela was a follower of Gandhi philosophy of non-violent resistance. And even there are many European authors like Romain Rolland too discussed Gandhiji in his he wrote a book in 1924, Mahatma Gandhi, and then he was influenced by Brazilian feminist Maria also. And then you can see the influence of Gandhi was also seen in European physicist, and this physicist is very famous scientist Albert Einstein. Okay, even he was influenced from Mahatma Gandhi, and Einstein even would go on to credit Gandhi with having created a new and humane means for the liberation war of country that was oppressed. And even when the former US President Barack Obama visited India, and he too spoke about Gandhian influence, when on a reply to a question, he was asked the question, who was the one person dead or alive that Barack Obama would choose to dine with, then he referred to Mahatma Gandhi, right? So the relevance of his theories, truth, the core value of Gandhian philosophy. Gandhiji believed in truth, that it empowers an individual, whereas the lies, if you lie, it weakens a person from within. Then his teachings on non-violence and compassion were the main core of his theory. Amidst rising violence and extremism, inequity, poverty, he always believed in his teachings of non-violence and compassion. Then he had a very secularist approach. The secular ideologies of Gandhiji are not only there in the Indian constitution, but also they are in Indian society as a core value system. Then Gandhiji had an idea of decentralization of power. So whatever you see today, the municipality system, Panchayati Raj, it was one of his idea. It has been implemented in the democracies through empowered local self-governments. Then he had his philosophy of socialism. It aspires from a classless society where there is no poverty, no hunger, no unemployment, and no education and health for all. So these Gandhian ideologies have become the lighthouse for Indian policymakers over the years. So he even focused upon the Swachhta, sustainable development. So I've just wrote it, the ethical and behavioral part of Gandhism. This is very important. It has much significance today because society is witnessing the degradation of the values. So Gandhian virtues of self-control, they are much needed in a materialistic world driven by the desire to achieve and acquire more. Then talking about respect for women is one of the major ideas of Gandhian philosophy. Okay, so then his perspectives and popularity, because Gandhiji was a prolific writer. He tackled a lot of subjects with wide ranging as from secularism to satyagraha, trusteeship, capital, labor. He talked about clothing and fasting also. So the name of Mahatma Gandhi, it basically transcends the bounds of race, religion and nation states, and he has emerged as a prophetic voice of 21st century. He is remembered for his passionate adherence because he practiced non-violence and his supreme humanism. Gandhiji's political contribution offered us independence, but his ideologies still enlighten India as well as the world even today after so many years. So that is how I would like to conclude this lecture of today. So if you have any queries, you can connect with me on social media. Thank you.